Welcome to the ThunderCast, your Marshall Athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hudnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose. Thanks for downloading another episode of the ThunderCast. You can follow us on Twitter at ThunderCast_pod. Again, links to all of our social media outlets in the description to all of our episodes. Of course, the ThunderCast are your Marshall representatives for thecollegehuddle.com, the biggest fan-driven podcasting network on the planet Earth, and we are really thrilled to be a part of that group. It's really beneficial if you're into the podcasting world and you just are a fan of kind of multiple teams. But we're really thankful that those guys reached out and wanted us to be a part of the College Huddle. It's been a lot of fun so far. Russ, it was a pretty eventful week in herd athletics, a really big weekend this past weekend. We had broken it down. If you were so inclined, if a person was so inclined, they really could have consumed a lot of herd athletics this past Saturday and Sunday. And really Friday, if you went to the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, the dinner. So it was a good weekend to be a herd fan. By and large, a really successful weekend for the herd too. Yeah. So what do you say we get into all this stuff? Because there's a lot of positivity we can talk about. Including the big football win over Western Michigan, which we're going to recap here in a minute, but we can't do anything until we get a quick word from our sponsors at 304carwreck.com.
If you've been hurt in a wreck, call the law firm of Leasure Oliver PLLC. Find them at 304carwreck.com.
Man, there ain't nowhere better to start after a great weekend of herd competition, lots of herd wins, than with 5 things that every herd fan needs to know this week.
Here are 6 things every herd fan needs to know this week. As always, brought to you by IgniteLink, the Tri-State's premier IT management team. Number 1, J.J. Roberts named Sunbelt Conference Defensive Player of the Week for football.
I tell you what, first of all, congratulations to J.J. because he played his flipping ass off in that game. I hope the cold tub was tubbing because I'm sure he was feeling some type of way after laying his body on the line for the most of the second half of that game. He looked like a man possessed. I mean, he had a great game from start to finish, but particularly in the second half, holy moly, the dude was every freaking where. Yeah. And he wasn't just in on plays. Dude, he was making some freaking noise out there. The pads were popping. You could hear it up where I was sitting. He was out to lay some lumber and stop some Broncos in their tracks, man. Several of those plays were like highlight plays, the type of stuff that you love to see, man. Congratulations to him. It was well earned. We're going to talk about it more, obviously, but 15 total tackles. Holy moly. He was putting on a show out there for herd fans.
Yeah, when we get to the breakdown, I think you'll hear when we talk about everything on what he did and the stats that he had, why he is so deserving for this award. You put these stats up, you should be a front runner every single week, in the Sun Belt Conference. And this is so prestigious because we have a lot of talented defensive players in the Sun Belt Conference. I know Jason Henderson has been out with an injury that's been plaguing him for a while, and he is usually up there with the tackles and everything. But from a strong safety standpoint, to get 15 tackles and all the stats that he put up, man, he put up a heck of a performance. So
one hell of a stat line. And while you're talking about other SBC conference mates that are great defenders, dude, he's got to beat out guys on his own team because we'll talk about Jaden Yates had a great game. I mean, and it took basically 2 to 2.5, 3 sometimes defenders to get a wrangle on Mike Green, and he was still causing things to happen, even though a lot of it doesn't show up in the stat line for him. So JJ had a great week, man, for the herd. He was so deserving of the SBC Defensive Player of the Week.
Number 2, captains have been named for men's basketball for this year. You got Obina Anachili Killen, Nate Martin, and newcomer Michael Dawson.
I think you probably could have, if we'd have done like A basketball preview. Well, if we'd have done a basketball preview before they announced captains, I think we probably could have, quote, rubber stamped 2 of those. I think we would have been really on top of Nate Martin and Obina. If we would have thought there was only going to be 2 captains, then those would have been the 2. The third captain, though, is it a wild card pick because it's a newcomer to the roster, but it's a local guy. So it's somebody that is from the area. And I know that it's not really a prerequisite, right? But it just kind of makes a little bit of sense, you know? But I think those are 3 great choices. And when you dig a little deeper and you start watching and reading about the basketball team, I think it's pretty apparent why Dawson was named that 3rd captain.
Yeah.
Everything coming out of the cam with how he has the role he has been playing both on the court and in the locker room speaks to that, you know, and these guys are picking their captains and you know, so it's not like you're just drawing names out of a hat. I mean, all 3 of these guys well deserving, and I just think it's kind of a little cherry on top that 66.6% of your captains are homegrown West Virginia talent. I think that's great.
A mutual friend of ours that has known him since he was at Huntington High says that he's a super good young man and obviously has the experience. And what we're talking about is experience being a leader at Huntington High and around here in this area, but also when, you know, he was at his previous team, you know, they went to the dance. And I think that is a good person, an upperclassman from the area, has leadership qualities and everything. Great pick as a captain.
So I think that's a good point that you bring up. You know, that he's the only one on the roster that's gone to the dance. And so there's an expectation because he's been there once. And while guys that have never been there think they have a taste for wanting to get there, I feel like guys that have been there really have a taste for wanting to get back to it because they know what it's all about and they know how much brighter the lights are. And now you're coming back home to try to do that again with your hometown college team. I think that is just another factor in the decision. You know what I mean? So will it happen? Yet to be determined. You know, the Sun Belt, I don't know much about the Sun Belt Conference as a whole as far as basketball goes. But I did see some preseason picks. It's got Marshall picked like kind of low middle range, the low middle tier. So not a lot of faith in the Herd so far, but hey, it's a whole lot of new for the Herd. So really nobody knows what's going to go on for the Herd. But anyway, you look at it, I think these are 3 great choices and, you know, they got it right.
So number 3, we're going to stay with basketball and talk about hoops in Huntington. Now it's tomorrow evening. 8 p.m. start is what they have put out, but there's a VIP event at 6:30 p.m. $20 gets you a meet and greet with both coaches, Coach Jackson and Coach Fulks, and you can get a unique photo with the coaches, and they will have a custom trading card with the coaches. So you can get there early, get your VIP credentials, and really have a lot more access to the team and the coaches and everything. There's going to be autograph signings before everything starts at 8 o'clock. I've been to 2 of these. This will be the 3rd one that they did, and it is just such a cool event to have outdoors, to have everything lit up, the temporary court on the street there, vendors all around. There's stuff for the kids to do, inflatables. There's a dunk tank that they had. It was either last year or the year before. My kids, even when Jackson didn't hit the thing, I think somebody went up, made sure that the person got dunked anyway. But it's just a great family event. Adults will love it. Kids will love it. Be there.
Yeah, I think it's way cooler than doing, you know, the Midnight Madness thing.
Yeah.
You know, this is a really cool thing. I don't know if other teams around the country are doing that. I really don't care because we're doing it, and it seems to fit right in with the vibe of what Huntington's doing. You pull everybody kind of downtown towards Pullman. It's a little bit of a live, I don't know, live energetic atmosphere. You're not inside, you're outside before it gets too cold. The weather looks like it's going to comply, and everybody's going to have a great night. I had hoped to be able to come, but logistically, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. And that sucks because I really wanted to try to get to see this for myself this time. But I will say this. I am a bit of a very small level card collector. So if any of those extra cards happen to be floating around, feel free to nab one of those for me and send it my way or hold on to it for me, because anything that's kind of trading card and Marshall related, I try to get a hold of, at least one of, if there's one of each, if there's more than one type thing. So, but that'll be a cool little perk. I think that's something honestly that we could be doing annually with all of our athletes and especially with NIL now. I think that would be super cool, and it's an idea I would love to explore. But I think Hoops in Huntington is going to be well attended again, because it seems like it has grown every year. And it's like, and you mentioned this a couple weeks ago, like with the POTA now in place, you're going to actually be able to have a cocktail or two and have a little bit of fun while you're out there.
Well, because you weren't here, let me explain. They do have those available from vendors right there. For instance, Backyard had their trailer set up to do pizzas. So kind of like having a food truck, but it's smaller, so
Right.
They had several of those there. You could purchase alcohol right there. So POTA won't change that. It's just you might be able to carry it from
That's what I mean.
Your local watering hole.
Kind of walk around with it a little bit.
However, I'm not well versed on this, but they were looking to try to change the local legislation so they could do this. Anytime there was a private event that had to get an alcohol license, like this would have had to have done, POTA would have to be suspended for that day. So I don't know if that's been worked out yet or not. Just know that you can be downtown, you can go to your favorite watering hole, restaurant, that sort of thing, and they'll be able to tell you if it's active or not. And then while you're down there, you can still, whether that's been suspended for this event or not, there's going to be plenty of places down there that you can get some of your local favorites, because they'll have a booth right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, you look at it, again, it's going to be a fun time. It's a good time to just go downtown and have dinner. There'll be something unique going on outside. Yep. Good time. Just a good time. And you get to get your first look at a new era in both basketball programs, the Cornelius Jackson area and the Julie Folks area. Good time to get down there and get familiarized with rosters and coaches, man.
Number 4, men's soccer is back in the top 5. They're now ranked 5th, and they have a really good chance to make a great showing against top 10, number 10 ranked James Madison this Friday.
Big game. Mm-hmm. First really big game of the schedule, in my opinion. We've played some exhibitions. I remember we went to Notre Dame, whatever, and we've already played the top 25 match here and there, but this is the one that counts first right now, because now you've got a top 10 conference game. Hopefully it'll be a sellout. It probably most likely would be. I would think they have no problem filling that place. Big test. This is a big test, the first big test for this herd. And of course it comes at the vet. So you got to love that. That's going to be a big one, man. A really big game.
And you think about this weekend. All right, you got Hoops in Huntington on Thursday. That's going to be torn down late Thursday night, because the parade is going to be the next day.
Oh, yeah.
Right there, starting around the Pullman Square area, and it's going to lead down to campus. So when you get done with that, just keep going on right up the road to the vet, and hopefully you can make the last of the tailgating section and just go right into the game. Parade downtown right after it. Number 5 versus number 10 in the nation. You've got conference implications on whoever wins this game picks up 3 points. Whoever loses gets 0. That's going to factor in quite a bit. You're hoping for a win. At worst, you're hoping for a draw here to help with the conference shakeout by the end of the season.
Yeah, this is not just conference implications. This is championship implications, and I don't mean just conference championship implications. Right. This could be beyond the conference championship implications. So this is a big, big match. Of course, we'll have tickets, and I know there won't be any shortage of folks that will be wanting to get their eyes on this game inside the vet from our premium kick-ass seats. If you haven't ever been and sat in our seats, they're pretty freaking good. I'm just saying. So excellent opportunity to immerse yourself. 2 big weekends in a row, man. You can immerse yourself in herd athletics. Of course, it's homecoming weekend, which we'll talk about later, but there's a whole lot extra going on this week.
Number 5, the October 12th game at Georgia Southern has been picked up by ESPNU. And because of that, it will now be an 8 p.m. game. Okay. It was at least rumored to be, but I thought set in stone, 6 p.m. Now we're looking at 8 p.m. on ESPNU.
I missed that. So that's a pretty big opportunity.
That's why you tune in to the 5 plus however many things every herd fan needs to know this week, because when you do miss something, you can pick it up right here.
That's when you tune into the everything you need to know this week, sponsored by Ignite Link. No, that's a big opportunity, because now you're on linear television. You're not just subjugated to freaking streaming, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's always good to be able to get eyeballs from around the country on your program, and that'll be one. I think that's one you got to have, obviously, because Georgia Southern's doing pretty good. That one might be a decision maker, but we're not looking too far ahead. We've got a game to play Saturday, and every game matters, honestly. In the Sun Belt Conference, every game matters, and but that's big, man. That's eyes on the prize. A lot of extra eyeballs on the herd. Hope everybody's healthy, man, because if we're healthy, we're dangerous, and you'd really like to think at that point in the season, it's clicking, because if it ain't clicking by that point, it ain't going to click, So big opportunity, excellent news. That's awesome.
Yeah, if we win this game against App State and the next game is on ESPNU at 8 o'clock, and we put up a great showing and win that one on the road against a performing pretty well Georgia Southern team this year, I think that will get a lot of eyes, both in conference and out of conference, on the herd, and say, hey, look, we nationally we were picking this team 5-7, 6-6. Here they are 4-2 already, with a couple of strong conference games, because there ain't a lot in the SBC East that are gimmies. I don't know of really any, this year, really the last couple of years. Even when someone's down, they're dangerous. And we start off with a very good conference schedule, and to have App State at home and then go on the road to be at an 8 p.m. ESPNU game, it's pretty big.
Yeah, it's pretty big. And I'll tell you, Georgia Southern doesn't have any real problems filling that stadium. They do it fairly regularly. At least the students will definitely show out. They always do in Statesboro. And then when the herd's coming to town, they will definitely show out, because, we got them down there a couple of years ago, and I know they did not like that at all, because they were riding pretty high. They had a really good offense, and we came in there and put it to them in Statesboro, and I'm sure they didn't appreciate that. So big opportunity. And you're right, going in at 4-2, or coming out of that one 4-2, 2-0 in the conference, with bigger games. Well, not bigger, but like just as big games still remaining on the slate. What it does is potentially set you up to get more games elevated later in the season. You look at a late game against Coastal Carolina that might be elevated or something like that's like pretty big opportunity. Maybe 75 week gets elevated. You never know. You never know what might happen. You're on a collision course at that point. It looks like a distant collision course, maybe with James Madison, the finale of the season. There's a lot that can go on there. So I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but you got to take it one game at a time, and you got to win, or else it's all null and void, right? You got to win.
Yeah, definitely. We have to take care of business this week, which we'll be talking about real soon. But before that, the 6th and final thing for this week is also about this game. We are striping the stadium, don't forget, for homecoming, and you had best wear the correct colors. I'm going to be going around with a notepad and taking down names of who has the wrong colors on. But I thought it would be easiest to list the white sections, and what is not listed here, if you're not in that section, you're wearing Kelly green.
I tell you what, while you're doing that, just for your own benefit, just so you know, because since we're recording and this will be post-editing, I'm going to superimpose the Stripe the Joan over the over us talking right now, so people will have no questions of what
Tell me where to
section
point.
Well, you won't be able to be seen. It'll be over top of. But anyway, go for it.
Obviously joking, but on the east side stands, if you're in 105, 109, or 113, you're wearing white. In the end zone, if you're in 130, you're wearing white. On the west side, 104, 110, 114, and then the two small sections that are one really large section, 118, 120, and then 124 right in the end zone, but still on the sideline. All those, you're wearing white. Everywhere else, if you didn't hear your section called, you're wearing green. Mm-hmm. Now, KD, I'm going to say these one more time. These are the whites: 105, 109, 113, 130, 104, 110, 114, 118, 120, 124. Now, there's going to be people watching this, or they're going to be listening to this, or they're going to see a graphic on social media, and they're going to say, well, I won't know what section I'm in until I get to the game and get my tickets. Well, guess what? Don't do that. Call the ticket office, email the ticket office, walk over to the ticket office, get them sometime this week before Saturday so you can prepare. Worst case scenario, take two shirt colors.
Yeah, what the hell? Green. Throw a green shirt and a white shirt in the car.
Yeah. So no matter what, you don't want to be the reason that your section doesn't look as good on TV, or the aerial shot. Man, I've got the panoramic of the Virginia Tech game the last time we striped it, and it looks really good. And we're talking about a lot of people traveled up here from Virginia Tech, right? Mm-hmm. And still with their crowd here, that white and green just pops. And it's because people participated. Don't be that guy. Don't wear black. Don't wear blue. Don't wear orange. Wear white. Wear Kelly green. I tell you what, if you get the wrong color in the wrong section, just trade with somebody else so it'll look better.
Or go set a section over. But no, and to your point about that Virginia Tech game, how cool is it? I still see from time to time the drone flight that we got in trouble for, tongue in cheek. And that looks so freaking striking, man. It's so cool. So when you participate and everybody participates, it looks really, really good. And if you're like, well, I'm in a white section, I don't have a white shirt, great excuse to go buy a new piece of gear because, hey, man, you want to be playing the part. So treat yourself to a new shirt. But definitely wear the color in the section that you're supposed to be in. And let's make it look as good and as clean as we possibly can. It's a big game. Might as well go all in with it this weekend. And every little thing helps, right? I mean, if you're superstitious, or even if you're just a little stitious, everything matters.
Well, that is it for this week. We had 6 things. I think they were 6 pretty big things. A lot to talk about. But always thank you to Ignite Link for making sure that we provide those.
Heck yeah, man. That was a good lot of things for sure. But let's talk about a football game, man. We had Western Michigan that came to town this past weekend, big game. And it's not like I'm trying to fly through this stuff, but, we know what happened. There's going to be a lot of conversation because there are some things that happened in that game that are making me still feel some type of way. And I know once we get into the discussion, we're going to talk about it. So I want to do most of my discussion in grades. So let's get into it. It was a 27-20 Herd victory, rising the Herd to 2-2 on the year. Still not an SBC game. That's coming later this weekend. 2-0 at home. That to me is the big thing. We're protecting the Joan. That's big. Let's get into those indicators, Russ. Total yards, time of possession, first down, third down, penalties, and turnovers. It's a hodgepodge for the Herd and the Broncos. Total yards, 422 to 318, Edge Marshall. Time of possession, 28 minutes, 31 seconds to 31:29. That's a pretty close time of possession margin. But Edge, Western Michigan. First downs, 21 to 20. Edge, Western Michigan. Third downs, 4 of 14 for the Broncos, 5 of 12 for the Herd. So Edge Herd. Penalties, super even. 3 for 30 for Western Michigan. 3 for 35 for the Herd, so Edge, Western Michigan. And turnovers, 1 apiece. Dang, man, this was right down the middle. And as you might expect, it was kind of the total yardage and those third down conversions, the extra third down conversion that really made the difference because everything else was pretty damn even. So the Herd is now 6-1 versus Western Michigan since 1999. Here's a stat for you, and I know you'll love this, right? The lone loss was in the 2000 regular season, a 30-10 loss, which the Herd would eventually I lost my train of thought. The Herd would pay that back in the conference or the MAC championship game against Western Michigan in 2000. So that loss, I don't know how many people are going to believe this or not. We were freshmen in 1997, right? First year of the MAC. That loss against Western Michigan in 2000 was our first loss at the Joan as undergrads. Only one of two losses at the Joan during my entire 6-year tenure as an undergrad, and the other one wouldn't come until 3 years later against Toledo, a 24-17 loss at home. That damn game, 30-10 in the 2000 regular season, was the first time I lost a game at Joan C. Edwards Stadium. And I think that's fitting that I'm bringing that up since earlier today on social media, there's still a lot of hubbub going on that we got tagged in about people coming to games, moreover students coming to games and things like that, and why and the reasons and the what fors and whatever. But so now the Herd hasn't lost to Western Michigan in 24 years and 6-1 since the turn of the century. But how about that? That was the first loss, man. Whew. That's way back when. Any thoughts on the game before I start talking about some players, or do you want to save it all?
I think I'll just save it all instead of repeating myself, because I think when we get to the grades, that's where you and I are going to have the bulk of our stuff today.
Yeah, I do. So let's get into it. Stone Earl, 15-25, buck 77, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Also 15 carries for another 53 yards. He did have 2 fumbles, though, and he lost one of those. A.J. Turner, welcome back to the big time, AJ. 9 carries, 124 yards, 13.8 yards per carry, long of 68. Always has the big, long run. But daggone it if my man can't get the big, long run and get into the end zone for crying out. I want him to get a touchdown off one of those so bad. Elijah Metcalf, 4 receptions, 52 yards, good for 13 yards per reception. Christian Fitzpatrick, 4 receptions, 49 yards, and a touchdown, 12.3 yards per reception. Got to take a pause for a second, because during the course of that game, I was watching Christian Fitzpatrick, and he was visibly frustrated that he could not get balls. He was open and he wasn't getting found, or the balls weren't where he could make a play on them. And good for him to stay the course, like not let that get the best of him, and then it pays off with the long touchdown reception where he gives full effort diving into the end zone. Great play. Toby Payne, just 1 catch for 32 yards, but a beauty, went for a touchdown. And then Carl Chester, 3 for 22, also gets a touchdown on the 4th consecutive game where the Herd has a grown-ass man reception, where he just wrestled that touchdown pass and wrangled it in past some really tight pass coverage. All in all, quick notes for this. The Herd had 4 runners minus Stone Earl, over 4.5 yards per carry, and they rushed for 245 yards as a team. Let's move into defense real quick. We talked about J.J. Roberts in the 5 things segment. Sunbelt Defensive Player of the Week behind 15 tackles, 8 of those solo, and 1.5 tackles for loss on the day. Dude was a friggin' missile all day long. Jaden Yates, what a great game. Another great game for young Jaden Yates. 10 total tackles, 2 solo, half tackle for loss, pass defended, and a clutch fumble recovery late in the game. Landon Watson, 8 tackles, 1 solo, and Mike Green, 8 tackles from the defensive end position, 1 solo, 1.5 tackles for loss, including a huge one late in the game, and a pass defended. Impact plays for the Herd. Kind of scary here, Russ. No sacks, no interceptions, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, but 5 tackles for loss. So not a lot of impact plays for this Herd defense, but boy, they came up big when it mattered. They did allow 146 yards rushing to Jaden Nixon on 23 carries. That was 6.3 yards per carry. Kind of got tightened up a little bit in the second half. later in the second half. But they did hold WMU quarterback Hayden Wolf to just 126 passing yards on 15 of 28 passing. So up and down day for that defense. Special teams, Reese Verhoff, 2 of 3 on field goals. He hit from 20 and 28. He missed from 48, 3 of 3 on extra points. Alec Clark had a decent day punting the ball, just 3 of them, though. 121 yards total, 40.3-yard average. He landed 2 inside the 20, which was awesome, and a long of 49 on the day. Jordan Houston had 2 kick returns for 39 yards, and Ian Foster notched a kick return for 22 yards. So that, in a nutshell, is how the Herd fared against the Western Michigan Broncos, leading it all to a 27-20 victory for Marshall. How about grades, man? What do you got for Stone Earl in this one?
I got him as a B+. It's hard to ding him for that fumble at the end of the game, even though it was a costly fumble at the time because it gave them a chance. He really got popped, and he got hit right on the ball. But we're talking about made some very good throws all game long. He had 3 touchdowns, protected the ball again with no interceptions. They've just done a tremendous job of avoiding throwing interceptions this year, which plagued us last year. I give him a B+. He ran the ball well early in the game. Could have tightened up some things, not ran as much. Looked to be not a designed run. It looked to be like a read that he ran with it. I could have done with a little less than that. So I'm going to give him a B+, even though he had a very good game. Yardage wasn't there to have like a 300-yard game or something like that. But you talk about 3 passing touchdowns through the game, or for the game, which those alone would have won the game. Mm-hmm. And then his running early, it just kind of set the tone for it. So I gave him a good, strong B+.
That's a decent grade, and it's fair. But, man, you got 2 turnovers and both fumbles. Luckily, you got 1 back. That was not really his fault, but, it was just it was bad read option exchange type deal, or the ball, he got hit as the back was going across his face or whatever. But still, my concern is the amount of hits he's taking early in the season. Dude, this kid's got to sustain for a whole season, so something has to get changed up a little bit to where he's not taking as many hits, because some of those were freaking licks, man. I mean, again, just like I was talking about with JJ, we could hear him up in the stands. I'm like, dang, man, he's getting hit. But I'll tell you what I paid attention to, because this was my opportunity to get live eyes on him at the game a month into the season, after some up and down discussion on our part and questions and things like that. And remember, I said going in, this is his opportunity to cement that he is in fact quarterback 1 and nobody else. Mm-hmm. I think he did that. Okay. Here's what I was paying attention to. It was moments where things were going against him after a turnover, right? After a bad pass play, actually a missed receiver. He had a couple that he just missed. He's unflappable, man. He doesn't come off of the field and head down and none of that. It's like the same dude that trots out there on first down to start the drive is the same dude that's trotting off after the drive has ended. And he's the same all the time. And I don't know that you can get to him in between the ears. I don't think you can do anything to cause him to flinch. And I'll say this, if Ohio State couldn't do it, I don't know that anybody on the schedule is going to make him flinch. I think that's a big reason why he's QB1. Nothing against the other guys, but he's just freaking unflappable, man. At least from my viewpoint. And I was sitting up at the game with my cousin, and he shared the same sentiment. It was just like, wow, this is cool to see in person. And he made play. I don't care what you say. He made some plays, right? Who wouldn't take a $177, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions? Yeah. If you take away half of the hits he's taking on run plays, you would take that all day long.
Yeah, that's why I'm with a solid B+. I think that he would have had to do a couple more things to get that A. But it was a very good game.
Well, the only thing he does to get the A is not turn the ball over. If you don't turn the ball over, you're probably going to get an A grade.
It would have been at least an A.
Yeah, because that's tough. Because the fumble you lose, I mean, you're in the danger zone of letting Western Michigan go tie the ball game. But luckily, our defense stepped up and we got the ball back. So a great game. I'm looking forward to how he will attack an Appalachian State defense, which we will of course break down a little bit later when we do the preview. What do you got for the offense as a whole?
For the offense, I had them as a B+ as well. I mean, you had some really good rushing here. Let me get the exact yardage. I thought it was 245, but I want to make sure. 245, 6.4 yards per rush. I think that is really big. Again, we had three touchdowns with no interceptions thrown. You had the one fumble to be your own, that we just talked about, to be your own your lone turnover. 245 plus 177, 412 yards, or 422 yards. So very good. And I think one of the things that I'm going to talk about here in a minute will make you realize that, heck, our offense could have been better.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have the chance in the second half because of the drives that they put together for Western Michigan. You talk about really flipping the possession. The first half, we dominated that. We didn't have the chance to put up a whole lot of yards in the fourth quarter. So we'll talk about that here in a minute.
So I'll tell you this. I asked you the question, can Marshall put together a 4-quarter offensive effort last week? Well, they did, because even though one was just a field goal, your offense has to get you down there in field goal range in order to make that happen. The Herd scored in all 4 quarters. That's big. If you can do that, that's big. Now, granted, you can't just score field goals in all 4 quarters because that's only freaking 12 points. But they put up 27 points, and they left points off the board. A lot of points off the board in this one. But still, 27 points is going to win you a fairly good amount of ball games. There are some you're going to get shot out, 28-27, or 27 points is going to win you a lot of ball games.
We usually say 28 to 30 points. If you can score that.
30 is my number. I feel like if you can hit 30, you will win a really vast majority of your ball games. But 27 ain't that damn far behind, and it was enough to get this one. How about a grade for this defense this week?
I got B-, and they're getting dinged for that third quarter, the back-to-back drives, but they came up huge when they needed it. We had a bunch of individual great performances, and we really shut down Hayden Wolf. I mean, he was throwing the ball out of bounds more than he was hitting his receivers a lot of times, and that's because we had great coverage and a lot of pressure on him. We had those back-to-back drives that they scored to start the third quarter. You take those away, I know it's easy to say, hey, just take those away, but that's the only 2 touchdowns that they scored. And it was like, after they did that, we just retooled and said, okay, let's focus this back in. That final drive that they had right before we got to kneel down at the end of the game, our defense was just everywhere. And they made plays, nothing that Western Michigan, who was a much better team than what I expected coming in here. You remember I said 38-7 on my prediction. They really, in the second half, they came out and gave us everything they had. And it was a very good rushing attack that we faced. Our defense was on its heels. It dug in, and it turned the corner in that fourth quarter to really shut them down and keep the win.
Okay, so here's a couple of things about this defense. Number one, Western Michigan was about as one-dimensional of a team as I can remember coming into the Joan in a while. They could not pass the football very well at all. And we talked about that coming in, how they only had 3 touchdowns on the year, 7 rushing touchdowns. They had 1 wide receiver that really made plays for them. Really the only guy that made up any considerable yardage for them again, Sam Bucci. He had a handful of catches or something like that, but it seemed like he was always moving the chains or whatever, always getting open, whatever. But I say that to say this. They were a one-dimensional team, and this defense still got ran all over knowing that. And that kind of sucks, because I thought, man, Wolf is standing back there for you to just go get, and they were unable to get to him. A team that gets to the quarterback fairly well could not get to Hayden Wolf, knowing he had no ability to scramble really and take off on you. So that was kind of like a weird thing. Secondly, that final drive for Western Michigan never should have happened. Never should have happened. First of all, you get this bull crap pass interference call that extends the drive, right, on a completely uncatchable ball, where we were not given a PI call on offense in a much worse looking play. Then you have that crazy complete fumble. Was it recovered above the line? Was it not? Okay, that to me and everybody in the crowd, I think, thought that was an incomplete pass, right? And then which should have rendered the drive basically done, right?
I gotta say, because I did a rewatch on it, it was a catch, it was a fumble, and he did get it about a half of a foot past the line of scrimmage. I rewound it about 5 times, watched it live. I watched the replays 5 times. They got it right.
So I'll tell you where my other thing is that if it's so close, right? If they got it right, great. But everybody in attendance obviously did not see it that way. And if they got it right, awesome. I'm glad that happened. But the rules kind of say you have to have irrefutable video evidence. And I'm not sure that you would have irrefutable evidence if it was so close to the spot, right? That you could overturn the entire call and sustain the drive. Now, I'm not saying you just let it lie, but I'm saying it's supposed to be beyond a shadow of a doubt unrefutable.
But the way they called it, if they had called it a non-catch on the field, I think that would have helped in the replay. But they called it a catch, which was correct in my opinion. But the spot, it was irrefutable. You could see one where he had caught the ball was right at the sticks, and great play by JJ great play. Hit right where it needed to be to cause that fumble. The fumble just bounced right. I mean, again, it looked like about 6 inches, but trust me, you're talking about 6 inches is quite a bit. I mean, it was a full football above or beyond the sticks. It wasn't a yard beyond or anything like that. And it was because he didn't catch it and then advance past. I mean, pick it up and advance the fumble. He just got it right there. And where he got it, it was irrefutable.
See, that's the thing to me, is because you need to be able to tell when that man regained possession of the football, because if I'm not mistaken, it was Jacoby Henderson that came in like another missile to try to, knock that ball out while in the process of recovering the fumble. And to call it short, man, it's just, I'm glad they got it right. I'm just like, it feels like one of those plays that if that would have happened to us, it would have just stood. You know what I mean? And that kind of sucks. But still, that all happened after the terrible PI call that extended the drive.
It did.
But nonetheless, the Herd stood strong and weathered a 7-minute drive that resulted in 0 points for Western Michigan to win the game. And when they needed to clamp down, they did. That's when the big Mike Green tackle for loss happened on that 3rd down to really kind of thwart that momentum that they were kind of getting going there, to down low and inside the 5, I believe. Great drive killer. That play was a great drive killer.
Here's why, and you and I are usually on the same page about a lot of stuff, and you said something here that I'm going to go totally against. You said that they were one-dimensional, and we still allowed them to do it. And here's what I want to tell you. If you had to guess, if you haven't gone back and looked, how many yards did we give them, Western Michigan, in the first half, even while they tried to run the ball a lot?
Oh, I don't have any idea. I just
90,
know
93 yards.
Yardage. Right.
93 yards.
But still, so you come out at halftime knowing that you have to go with your strength because you can't air it out. And that's what I'm saying. So they made some switches, they made some adjustments, and they saw something they liked, and it worked for a whole damn quarter. And had we not in turn made some sort of adjustment, and I think that adjustment was putting the safeties down closer to the line,
Yep.
like I said, should have freaking happened from the first play of the first down in the first quarter, then they would have just continued to do that.
Well, and here's what I'm going to tell you, and you may know all this, but coming out in that third quarter, they had a drive of 75 yards and a drive of 75 yards.
Mm-hmm.
They rushed just about all of those. I did some notes here for the Sunday recap, and here's what we got. The 75-yard scoring drive for Western Michigan to open the second half consisted of 70 rushing yards and that 5-yard penalty that was the sideline infraction because we had been warned in the first half. 8 rushes for 70 yards, just under 9 per carry.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that came on, nearly half of it, 37 yards on the one, I think it's 34, 37 yards, something like that, on the one touchdown that they got on that drive. And then the second one, they had 6 rushes for 42 yards. They also went 3 for 3 for 33 yards the first time they had attempted a pass in the second half. They got a TD through the air on their second TD drive. So you're looking at back-to-back 75-yard scoring drives, 145 yards that they put up, and 5 in penalties. They only had 1 play that went for no gain during that entire time. No losses, no incompletions, 9 plus 7. They got about 8 yards a carry during those 2 yards. You take those 2 away, because that's when we made the adjustments, said, okay, they came out and made adjustments. We're going to have to make adjustments. They would have only had about 170 yards total the entire game, except for these 2 drives. We really came out and our defense played. They didn't do much except for get handed several different chances on that final drive. We shut them down the entire first half, as one-dimensional as they were.
Yeah.
They tried to run. We shut it down. They made adjustments. It worked. That's football. We can't expect them to shut it down the whole game, and I'm not saying you're saying that, but I'm saying that this defense definitely came back, and they shut down the run late in the game. After those 2 drives, we did exactly what you said, brought the safety down, JJ. That's when we really just shut them down, and they were just on a wing and a prayer to try to get that final drive, and they got gifted quite a bit of circumstantial things for them to move by a game of centimeters and inches, get these first downs.
Yeah, and that's what I feel like after the first second half touchdown drive, that adjustment should have happened. The second touchdown drive never should have happened, or if it did, it would have been much damn harder to get, right?
Well, but they switched it up again. That's what I'm saying. They threw through the air instead of just running, so they came out their second drive, they came out throwing, and they got half their yards on that touchdown drive and the touchdown through the air. And it just seemed like they were clicking everything that they were doing.
Yeah, they were. And of course, they're out there to beat you. I'm not saying
Sure.
anybody's supposed to lay down because, you want them to. It was just a little frustrating because I know the amount of team speed that we carry on defense, right, at all levels. And we knew we were dealing with a mostly one-dimensional offense. Mostly. We didn't have anybody we felt that could stretch the field and just take it over, blow the top off for Western Michigan, right? So I wanted them to almost dare our DBs to beat them. I wanted them. And Mike Green, again, lived in the backfield. He was always a freaking fingertip away from a sack. I mean, he lived in the backfield. So first of all, any props to the guys that were blocking Mike Green, because they did a great job on him, to the point that he couldn't get to the quarterback. He was penetrating into the backfield all game long, but he just could not get an arm on the quarterback. Granted, he had 8 tackles from the defensive end spot, but those offensive linemen did just enough to keep him off their quarterback.
And here's what I missed in the prep for the preview of this game, because it's so hard to scout only through stats, offensive linemen, right? You don't know who's getting the majority of the snaps during the game and everything. The announcers really hit it home for me while I did the rewatch. This was a heavy senior-laden, lot of experience offensive line, and they really, it took double teaming Mike Green a lot of times to do it. They also used their running back to chip when they needed to and everything. their offensive line is really good. And had I realized how well that offensive line was and the experience that they had, I probably would have been less about the 38-7 feeling that I had going in. I was looking more at the playmakers, but their line put up a really, really good effort against our defensive front.
Yeah, and of course, that's also why they run the ball so effectively. But
Yeah.
you're still right. A B- is a really fair grade because when it absolutely mattered, they came up and got the ball back for the herd.
Yeah.
They went and got the freaking ball back. Jabari Ishmael had a great play. Jaden Yates was Johnny on the spot to scoop it up. That was it, man. That's what you had to have at that moment, and they absolutely came up big for the herd.
You're looking at an A+ going into halftime. You know what I mean? And it's just that those two drives in the to start the second quarter really brought it down. If those one thing doesn't go as a success and we're able to stop them or get a turnover or something like that, that defensive grade looks a lot better. But they just had two amazing drives was really all it was for their entire offense for the game.
But sometimes that's all it takes.
That's all it takes. I understand. I do.
You know. All right, so let's talk about special teams. Everybody kind of sort of did their job. And nothing really stood out to me as impactful. We were waiting to see that big play on punt coverage or kick return coverage. It didn't happen because you really didn't have anything. You only had 3 punts.
Yeah, but we had a long of 49.
Yeah.
His other two was 35 and 34. The one that was 34 that was so short because it's straight up in the air, they returned it for 27 yards. We had a net 7 yards there, and that really was at a bad time for them to be able to get that ball back. I think at that time it was 20-20, and that put them on our side of the field, and I think that's when we got the fumble recovery on that drive. But that was a little dangerous. So we also missed a field goal, and this game could have come down to one. So I give them a C+. There was nothing that really hurt us, but we didn't put ourselves in a good position a couple of times on some big situations.
For the longest, I had this sinking gut feeling that this was going to come down to a kick. I don't know why, but I just did. And until it didn't, I kind of had this feeling in my gut like, man, it's going to come down to a kick.
And how wrong were we when we were looking at their kicker who had a long of 20 coming into the game? And admittedly, it was a small sample size, but he missed a 42 and a 48 or a 42 and a 45 or whatever. And we're like, hey, man, this guy may not be able to kick long. And then he comes in and nails a couple of long ones that had plenty of leg and plenty of accuracy. It wasn't like they snuck in there. I'm glad it didn't come down to a kick.
Me too. I'm glad it didn't come down to a kick.
He was kicking very well.
What do you got for the coaches this week?
Did I give the special teams grade?
Oh, I don't know if you did or not. Did you?
C+.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You did.
Okay.
All right. What do you got for the coaches?
Coaching, I got with a B+. I've heard a lot of people and myself too. When I was down there and we're on the one, I'm like, man, you got to go for it. 4th and 1. But on my rewatch, I don't know what it was, but it clicked for me. We had already missed a field goal and we left 3 points on the board. This was going to put us back up by a full touchdown if you get the guaranteed 3. We had it on the 5-yard line, if I'm not mistaken, at 1st and goal from the 5. And 3 runs, we got a yard each time. So they had it at 4th and 2 officially. ESPN had it instead of from the 1 and had it as a 20-yard field goal. If we come away with no points there, it's 7-3 at that point. And yeah, they have to go all the way down the field. And yeah, our defense was shutting them down to that point. But what if that's when they have those breakout runs and they go down there and go ahead? So I think that it was very safe to take the points right there, and it was smart to take the points right there. And because I have more of that gunslinger mentality as a person that's never coached football at any level, that's why I was so adamant live is like, man, you got to run it right down their throats. Well, we tried and we didn't get it 3 straight times on short and goal. 1st and goal, 2nd goal, and 3rd and goal from the 5, the 4, and the 3. We don't get it. So I'm not as confident at that point that I ding the coaches for that. I also think that we came out playing an amazing game, to start the game, 17-3. We came out doing our thing. We made the adjustments late in the game when we had to. I keep saying this about all the games up to this point, but it still rings true in this one too. We gave up 1 sack. We gave up very little holds, very little penalties. There were no holds. There was a pass interference call that I really don't think should have ever been in any way or fashion. We had a sideline penalty
and a
for
sideline warning. What the hell?
If you don't get the sideline warning in the first half, it's just a warning in the second half, during that drive. But again, that's 5 yards. It didn't extend a drive or anything
but
like that.
It's just this is not on the herd. That's too,
right. It's on the refs.
That,
I know what you're saying, but we only had the other one was a personal foul penalty, and that was because both teams offset in that same drive. They were pushing after the thing. It got a little chippy for a while. But you're talking about a very disciplined team this far into the season. You're talking about a team that is not giving up many sacks, and it's because it's not like we haven't been going against some good guys. Virginia Tech and Ohio State and Western Michigan had some good defensive linemen. But our game plan is to get the ball out quick. Our game plan is to take advantage of this, and I feel like that comes down to some coaching. So I am giving, let's see, I had to get back up here, a B+ overall on the coaches. And I mean, just a sliver taken off for that 4th and goal. Had we started, at the 10 and we were making some good yardage or whatever, then it would have been a bigger ding for me on the grade. But I'm not so sure after the rewatch and looking at the context of when the play was. And as we discussed it on the post game on Sunday, a lot of people saw it the same way after the fact. When it's live, you're like, no, you got to go for it. Go for the throat. But had we not missed that field goal before then, I feel like we would have gone for it there because we would have been up more had we not gotten the touchdown there. So B+ for me.
Okay, so I disagree with the field goal on the 1 or 1.5 or 2, whatever.
Sure.
Because leading into that, you say, well, we weren't making any yardage. You're right. You know why? Because it was Stone Earl run, Ethan Payne run. So, okay, I get maybe you make a read and it's Stone's carry on first down. I get that. But it ain't his carry on second down. At that point, I'm putting it in the belly of a freaking running back who might be able to churn for another couple of yards, right? And I get it. Ethan only got 1 yard on third down. Well, maybe he gets 3 on second down. You know what I mean? Who knows? But I don't go quarterback run.
No,
right,
I would
inside the 5.
I think if you get down there, because if I'm remembering correctly, Ethan Payne had a 4-yard run to get the first down to put it at 1st and goal on the 5. I give it back to him there, or I try for a fade to 6'4" Christian Fitzpatrick over the defensive backs. I try something more than Stone Earl left.
Look what worked for them. They got us on a sucker play on a touchdown to the tight end because we sold out for a run play. And you've got uber talented Toby Payne there. You've got uber talented Cade Conley there, right? And also you've got this workhorse type back who always seems to fall forward in Jordan Houston. So all I'm saying is you have enough weapons that on that second down call, it's not a quarterback run. And by the way, one of those two, I don't remember if it was first down or second down, was one of the ones that Stone absolutely got popped on, that we heard it up in our section of the stadium. We thought, dang, man, that was a lick, dude. So I disagree with that. Not so much because you didn't go for it on 4th and goal, but what you called on second down, not even first down. First down, I'm fine. If there's a hole there, Stone can make some, but that's not his play on second down. That really kind of ruined the drive or that series right there.
So I think from my perspective, one, I agree with you because I think the play is to give it to Payne or to throw it to Christian Fitzpatrick, like I was saying. But until that little series there where he ran twice, he was picking up those yards. And that's when it just did not work. is it was working so great before that. And if he runs it in on that first play, everybody's going to say what a great call it was.
They will.
And I'm in agreement with you on I wouldn't have done Stone Earl, but I mean you still like Ethan Payne from the 3 and he gets 1 yard.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's got to get it from the 2 and he doesn't get it. I don't know. It would have been not that bad to try for it because our defense was playing so.
I take my chances because
to have them have to go 98 yards.
Yeah, on with nowhere really to go. You've got to make a quick decision. It's got to come out fast. And Mike Green or Jabari Ishmael, they're bearing down. So you could maybe not come away with a touchdown, but you might come away with a safety. And I know that's a lot of ifs and buts. But
yeah.
I think that early in the game, you got all the momentum going your way. You freaking go for it, man. And everybody wanted Huff to go for it. And I don't think if you go for it and don't get it, people aren't going to boo. I think they're going to be like, hell yeah, man. At least they took a shot. We didn't get the points, but oh well. Fans, what do you got for fans?
Fans, I've got a get back to it here. Fans, I have a B. And I was disappointed with the attendance from a weather standpoint. But when you sit around and think about power went out for a lot of people on Friday, the restoration time was sometime Monday for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand why we didn't have as many there with the weather that we got on Friday and the rain that was supposed to be there on Saturday for the game. And we saw a little bit of. You're at the game and you're thinking, well, it's just sprinkles. Why are so many people not here? But there was a lot of people in the area without power. Somebody else made a very good point. I think it was on Twitter that I saw this. We have a lot of fans from the North Carolina area. And yeah, we had a few come up and were even at our tailgate.
Mm-hmm.
But that was from the coastal side of North Carolina. And there were a lot of people down there that either had family there or maybe they were in the same situation. Huge devastation to the state of North Carolina.
Yeah.
People around that area. So I can't really fault people for not showing up because of that. Not just it wasn't just weather related as, oh, it's going to rain a little bit. It's the devastation that led up in the days before that and so many people without power. So when I say this grade, it's more about while we were there, hardly anybody would do the We Are and Marshall. Mm-hmm. Hardly anybody would get up for anything when we needed them in the third quarter. And it's only when we came away with the big stop and everything that people got up and guess what? The energy came into the herd defense at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really faulting the people that were there, not the people that weren't, if that makes sense.
Yeah, very rarely do I give a pass on attendance for a game, but I think all the surrounding circumstances that just went into this one, I'm cool with giving folks a pass. There was too much going on. There were, like you said, power outages. There were people that probably had family that were impacted. They just had shit to do. You know, it's not often that I'll be like, it's cool. Y'all don't have to come to the game. I get it if you didn't come to this one. And also, it was forecasted to just be rainy all day. So you could have been, who knows what you were into. You don't know how heavy it was going to be. You don't know what would have happened in Huntington. Like, if all the drains start backing up, you don't ever know. So I'm okay with that in that capacity. But you're right. My section where I was at was fairly lively. We were into the game. But I think you're right, man. There's I'm not calling them out per se, but student attendance needed to be far greater because you're there. You're on campus. You just, walk across and go. So it starts with them. The environment in games do start with the students, but the fewer people you have in a stadium, the harder it is to create an electric atmosphere. So the odds were stacked against you in this one. But still, when they needed it, instead of the crowd igniting the team, it was the other way around in this one.
The team had to get the crowd into it.
They did, and that kind of sucks. That should never really happen.
That's why I'm there with that. But I had to reward the people that did come and sit through what was supposed to be a rainy day.
Yeah.
So that's why I settled on a B overall. And if you didn't have the power outages and the property damage and all the different things, and let's face it, man, the death toll is still rising,
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of these places. Um, that's where you have to be objective and say, man, you cannot take away from the people that did not come.
Yeah.
I settled on a B. If we would have been a lot more energetic, it could have been up to an A plus, even with the lower attendance. If you got it there and were loud the entire game, 15,000 in that stadium, I've still heard before get extremely loud, and we just didn't have it.
No, we didn't have it, but I'll tell you what, you've got an opportunity to make up for it this weekend.
That's right.
Get your ass out to homecoming and come and watch the Herd play an important Sun Belt Conference game against a team that has been impacted more than any other team in the conference from Hurricane Helene, right? And I know that we've got a lot more to talk about with App State in the preview, but this is an important game for a number of levels. They're showing a little resiliency by even playing this. They had to cancel their game against Liberty, and they caught flack for that from that crazy fan base. But you've got an opportunity to come out and support the Herd, pack the Joan to get a big win, but also a little bit of you gets the opportunity to go out there and show up for App State and be like, man, we appreciate you guys and what you're going through, and still coming to Huntington despite what all is going on. So make up for it. You didn't go to the game against Western Michigan? Great. You can show up on Saturday and have a great homecoming and cheer the Herd to victory and be loud and be energetic. Russ, what do you got overall for this past weekend against Western Michigan?
Overall, I got a B, and it's because the lower attendance in the tailgate and in the game just kind of brought the energy down a lot. But we came away with a win. We came away with a lot to celebrate, and we're 2-2, where kind of everyone thought we might be heading into the conference schedule. So B overall for me.
Yep, we are where we thought we'd be. Maybe not as ahead of the game as we had hoped, but I wouldn't say we're too far behind where we expected.
I think that right now I am a lot more convinced after these first 4 games than I was, even though the record's the same as what I thought it was. We put up a great performance against Ohio State. We've got a lot to celebrate. And looking at our linebacker play, which we thought was going to be a question mark, like you said,
right. Yeah.
It was a question mark because we had so much unknown with these guys. It's not just the top 2. We've got the guys that are, they're playing. It's a strength. So I like where we're at right now.
I do too. How about an offensive MVP real quick?
That's one that I didn't write down. I'm going to have to go with AJ Turner. His long run really set up that touchdown. That I don't know. It's like the limited carries, and I think he'll get more as the season goes on. I said it on the recap that I feel like he is best used right now as the change of pace back and not getting 20 to 25 carries a game. You get the pass protection from Houston and Payne, and then bring him in to really get those runs as a change of pace back. He changed the pace at the right time for this one, and I'm giving it to him.
It's a good pick. He was really a catalyst for a lot that we needed to happen when it happened. And the hurdling play was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Flawless effort. I mean, it was effortless for him to do that and keep running. Yeah, he took 2 steps and went out of bounds because of the direction he was going. But a lot of times you see somebody do that and they hurdle somebody and then they have to, find their footing and everything. He looked like, oh, this is nothing.
Yeah, it was a uber athletic play. Very nice. And then, of course, the long run was what the long run was. It was beautiful. It's what the Herd needed. So good pick. I think I would lean towards A.J. Turner, too. And despite 2 fumbles on the day, a very close second to Stone Earl by basically stamping QB1 as his to hold until, injury, basically. I think it's his until he gets knocked out of the role. Defensive MVP, who do you got?
J.J. Roberts. He's my entire game MVP.
Right on.
That's why I didn't write one. I only wrote a game MVP. I didn't write one down for offense or special teams. So I got to go with J.J. there. Obviously, he's the game MVP for me. Defensive MVP for the Sun Belt for the week. Just can't say enough about the stats, but we do have to talk about those tackles. You said 15. I'm looking here off my head. It was 8 solo. I want to confirm that 8 solo tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, and that and the play to cause that fumble. It just looked like he said, "Guys, I got this. Here's what we need to do," and he did it.
So even if he wasn't named SVC Defensive Player of the Week, he's still easily the defensive MVP of this game.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's any coincidence that once he started playing closer to the line of scrimmage, that it really just opened up for him. I mean, the play where he shot into the backfield and took out the running back is gorgeous. I could watch that over and over. You know, coming in like a missile, calls him the fumble, like you said, another gorgeous. He was just everywhere, man. He was everywhere. And had that happened earlier, you might be looking at a 20 tackle performance for J.J. Roberts in this game. He was just that damn good in this one.
And let's talk about real quick what kind of a game he had to have when Jaden Yates had 10 tackles, half a tackle for loss, a pass deflection, a fumble recovery. I mean, that wins you a lot of Defensive Player of the Week.
Damn right it does.
And JJ was just that far above him with 15 tackles, 8 of them being solo, 1.5 tackles for loss, and the timing of the plays that he did. You know, it was just what a performance.
He was. Do you have a special teams MVP this week?
Yeah, it's always Ian Foster for me until somebody replaces him. Somebody's going to have to, you know, he got one chance to run the ball, and I think he got 22, 25, something like that. But it's, again, he just seems to always be down there when punt coverage. He does it all, you know. He does it on defense when he's in the game. He's always around the ball. This guy is just a football player, and until somebody has just an amazing special teams day, for me, it's Ian Foster, and a lot of it's not going to show up on the stat line.
Yeah, that's true. Final words on this one.
Got to win on to conference play.
Dude, the only thing I'm going to say about this one happened before this one. And if you weren't a part of the ThunderCast tailgate this week, holy moly, did you miss some star-studded attendees at this one? We were graced by the presence of a couple of Hall of Famers, actually a trio of Hall of Famers, 2 freshly inducted and 1 from the MAC era. Man, you guys got to stop by. You never know who you're going to run into at a ThunderCast tailgate. It was awesome to see Rakeem Cato. It was awesome to see Tommy Schuler. It was awesome to see Max Yates and converse with all 3 of those guys, even if just for a minute. The food was phenomenal. It was a great tailgate, and not one that too bad the game and the tailgating was sparsely attended, because this was one that could have used a big crowd. It was awesome. It was a great tailgate. I was so glad that I was able to squeeze some extra time off and come in for that one, because it was fun.
And we have to, since you're talking about the tailgate, shout out Landscaping by Hillcrest yet again for sponsoring every single tailgate. So they sponsored this one, and because of the logistics and everything, we had Soul Food Twist cater it. They ran into weather issues just like everybody else. They still got us the food. Everyone loved it. We took a lot home because the attendance was lower than what we knew when we booked everything, because the weather was so crazy the day before. A lot of thanks to those 2 businesses.
Yep, it was a lot of fun. So that's it for me, and on to App State in homecoming here in a couple of days. But right now, let's go around the herd.
Yeah, quickly, we've got women's golf. Olivia Cochan finished 4th at the Butler Invitational, as Marshall also finished 4th as a team. Cochan was 4 over for the tournament, with no player making par overall. She led the field with 17 pars on the final round with a lone bogey on 14th hole. Savannah Hawkins took a massive leap on that final round, moved up 18 spots on the leaderboard to finish tied for 17th. She had 3 birdies on the day and 9 birdies overall on the tournament. And this is a tournament where birdies were hard to come by. Men's golf team finished 4th in the 2-round tournament. It was weather shortened, just like pretty much everything that tried to get in on Friday. After being tied for first after the first day, they had a great first day at 6 under, and the wheels kind of fell off on a very, very rainy, nasty day 2, and they were 9 over. They were led by Ryan Bilby, who finished tied for 7th at 2 under. Cameron Jarvis, J.F. Aber, and Clayton Thomas finished in the top 30. That was the 4 golfers that we had in this tournament. They'll be back in action on Friday at the Miami, Ohio hosted event, the Indy at Forest Hills, and that's in Richmond, Indiana, right across the border. Softball. They beat the bobbed tail off of the West Virginia Wesleyan Bobcats 30-0 on Sunday.
Pause. Oh, sorry. That did not, no disrespect, but damn.
You have to understand 28-4 last week, 30-0 this week. They are playing a level or 2 down,
I get it, but damn.
But man, 30-0 even against a high school squad is still 30-0. They host the University of Charleston on Friday at 6 p.m. So if one finds themselves saying, I want to go to the soccer match, but I don't want to deal with the parade downtown and all the traffic, you can get up there but after the end of where the parade will end. You'll be on that side, the soccer field side. Go over and park at softball and watch some softball, and then walk down, not too far of a walk, 2 or 3 blocks, go down to the soccer match. Also, they will be hosting Ohio on Sunday at 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. And don't forget, next Saturday, the Home Run Derby at noon. That's Saturday, October the 12th at noon, Home Run Derby. We'll have at least one player or coach that we are sponsoring for that. And we encourage you guys to do it as well. Yeah,
absolutely. That's a great fundraiser, and it's a lot of fun. I know the gals have a great time competing against one another, and that's a good fundraiser. A lot of fun to see who's going to come out on top. Do you have any early predictions of who you think it'll be?
Yeah, I'm going with Riley Lucas. I think, she's had a full year, well, close to a full year. She had a little nagging injury last year, kind of sapped what we thought was going to be a huge power year for her. Still had an impressive power performance considering. But I think that what she did last year in the Home Run Derby, I see her doing that again, and look out windows across the street.
Yeah, duck and cover at the Marshall Hall of Fame, that's for sure. That's a good pick. I'm going to go dark horse candidate Bella Gerlach, because she impressed me last year with the display of power that she was able to bring to the herd in her first year in Huntington. So we both got our favorites. Let's see who comes out on top. You watch and see it'll be someone else. But hey, anything else around the herd?
Yeah, we got a bunch still. Swim and dive, they had the green and white meet on Saturday. No results posted for that. It's kind of a scrimmage, if you will. But they head to Morgantown for the West Virginia games on Friday and Saturday. If you remember from the last couple of years, this is pretty much every college in the state of West Virginia having a meet up there. Tennis will be in a tournament in Cincinnati on Friday and Saturday. Cross country will be at Live in Lou, the Live in Lou Classic on Saturday in Louisville. Volleyball, they dropped both matches to Coastal this weekend, 3-0. The first match, Brim Brown had 25 assists and 9 digs. Peyton Neal had 16 digs. Audrey Gear had 13 kills. In the second match, Brown had another 23 assists and 9 digs. Gear had 11 kills. So good performances. The team just couldn't get enough points and a pretty good Coastal team handled them down there.
Mhm.
They host Georgia Southern Thursday and Friday, both at 5 p.m. So if you're here, you want something to do before you go to Hoops in Huntington, no better than going over to the Joan, watching some volleyball, and supporting the girls
The
in
can.
conference play. What did I say? The volleyball?
The you said
Did
the
I say
Joan.
the Joan?
Yeah. Like, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Forgive me, but that's the only mistake I'll ever make on this show.
Yeah, I can tell. Same.
Women's soccer, they lost 6-1 at Texas State on Thursday. Then they bounced back and beat Troy on Sunday at home 3-0. And that shutout, that clean sheet, gave Alexis Wolgemuth enough of those to become our third on the all-time shutouts list. Very good career
very cool.
so far.
Very cool. You know, she was having a great year last year before she got injured.
Yeah,
and
it really turned the season around.
It did, man, and that sucks because it's nice to have her back to full strength because she's a real asset for the Herd, man. Defensively, I mean, now third all time in clean sheets. Fort Wolgemuth back in full effect.
They will be hosting Georgia Southern on Sunday at 1 p.m. And finally, men's soccer beat Old Dominion 2-1 at home on Sunday to go to 2-0 in conference play. Again, we talked about it earlier, but they are hosting number 10 James Madison on Friday at 7:15 p.m. Homecoming weekend. A lot of people in town. Number 5 versus number 10 in the nation. You need to be there and make this a crowd that James Madison just cannot overcome.
Yeah, no doubt, man. They ticket office should have done like a twofer type deal, you know, soccer and football to ensure you could get a soccer ticket if you wanted to go. You know, that would have been pretty cool. I tell you what, this thing with James Madison, I really like what our relationship in the Sun Belt is becoming because it is now starting to translate across more than a couple of sports. Yeah. I mean, remember, football's always been good. We went up there a couple of years ago, got a win in Harrisonburg, which they didn't appreciate one bit. Mm-hmm. The soccer is really been heated the past couple of years. Women's basketball was heated last year. I mean, this is really turning into something that you can appreciate if you're a Herd fan. And now this year that the Sun Belt Conference has scheduled us as the season finale. So that's a big deal, man. I think what we've got going with James Madison is something to be proud of, is something to kind of rally behind, because I know those guys up there, they dig it too. They dig, you know, what's been going on in Huntington, you know, when we lock horns and everything. The only other thing I have to say, and then after I'm done, I'll let you take it out if you want to, is I went to some of the green and white swim and dive meet. It was the first time I've ever gone to a swim and dive, and it was cool. I mean, it was really cool. I know you went last year, but if you have not gone, you should go. And I was surprised to see as many people there that were there. There was a really good contingency of Herd fans there to watch an inter-squad scrimmage, so to speak. And I touched base with a Marshall staffer, and we had a really long, good conversation about what it is that we do and what our motives are with the ThunderCast. And she thought that was awesome. She had not heard of us to that point, but I think that conversation hopefully will lead to some good things and ways that we can help grow the Herd, both from fans and our athletes, you know. So I'm really excited about what that conversation might evolve into. So, but swim and dive was awesome. I would go back again without a doubt. That was a lot of fun.
To have her not have heard of us right now, this is a great time for me to tell you, the viewers, you, the listeners, tell 10 of your closest friends about how much you enjoy the ThunderCast and where you get your information. We're a news aggregate kind of a deal, giving you the around the Herd, what's coming up, and then the 5 to who knows how many things every Herd fan needs to know this week. So give us a little love on social media and share our stuff with people. Tell people via text or in person or whatever about us. So there are still people learning about what we do, and we'd like to grow so we can do bigger and better things for Marshall University.
Well, it's like I said, the more people that know about us, the more people that are listening, the more attractive we become to our current sponsors and potential future sponsors, which means in turn, more that we can do for herd fans and the herd. It's a very synergistic relationship. So I really don't ever ask folks to, like our videos or, rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. But if you do, which takes no time to do, and it's completely free for you to do, that tremendously helps the reach that we can potentially have for other herd fans and just college fans in general. Like, if App State fans want a podcast, they don't know about us. Well, all those likes help push us to more homepages and more feeds. So do your part and help us grow. And Russ is right. Share the show with your friends. There's nobody that we want to talk to more or want listening more than freaking herd fans. That's what it's all about, So,
That's right.
Russ, if you ain't got nothing else, take us out of here.
Yeah, I do have something, and it's about App State. Down in Boone, they have been just absolutely devastated. And it's not just there, it's the surrounding areas, and there's other states that have been impacted and everything. But we are playing App State this week at home. We're hosting them. Their campus, their town, that entire area has just been decimated with the horrific flooding. If you've seen any of the videos and the photos around there, seen all over social media, the ThunderCast wanted to do something on behalf of Marshall fans and do kind of what we do with the news, is try to get it all in one area. The same thing here. We want to try to make a donation on behalf of Marshall fans. So we have set up, and I did this through my Venmo because I was trying to do the easiest way that I could get them money quick. We had talked about a way of possibly taking physical donations up to the time of the tailgate, but just the logistics of that, of how do we get it from here to Boone. We can't really ask App fans to leave their vehicles empty so they can take stuff back. And what if we still donate way more than they can take? So we felt money and donating that to them on Saturday during our live tailgate show was going to be the best way. So anyone listening that has not seen this on social media or has not heard about it from word of mouth, which we've had so many shares on Twitter, and I think I'm up to 90 some shares on Facebook on the post that I put. It's made its way around. You can Venmo me. It's at Russ Livinggood, the same that you see right here if you're watching on YouTube. It's at RUSLIVINGOOD if you're listening to this instead of watching. Donate whatever on Venmo. I don't care if it's $1. If 500 people are listening to this and they donate $1, that's an additional $500 that we're sending down there. But we are going to donate to the official App State donation fund that is set aside for students, staff, and everything. So coming directly from Marshall fans directly to App State fans and students. And like I said, we'll be doing that immediately, making that donation for whatever we bring in, plus what I'm donating personally to App State during the live tailgate show. As of right now, we're recording this very late on Wednesday night. We're at $860. So I will have this. Our goal is, at this point, if we got 860, I definitely want to see us well over $1,000 that we're going to send. So $1, $5, $10, whatever you want to do, please, at Russ Livinggood on Venmo, and we will make that donation based on the end of our tailgate, what we have, and we'll send it on over to them.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. I don't know logistically if I'll be able to be a part of the tailgate show, but if I'm not, I think it would be awesome if you talk about it in real time while you're streaming and tell people where they can send it, encourage them to do it right then and there. And I think it would be awesome if you made the donation. If this is what I'm hearing, you're planning on doing that live
on air.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, that would be great, man. Yeah. So one last push to get over a certain amount while you're live on stream, because we've been really fortunate. We've had several hundred views on our live show. So that's a great opportunity to get a little bit more loot heading to the App State fans or community.
I forgot to say there are some people that are not on Venmo. We are also going to have a large donation jar there for the people at the tailgate to go drop $1 or some change or whatever in there, and then we'll count that during the show so that can be added as well. So if you only deal in cash and you're going to be around in the tailgate lots and you want to come over and find yourself, hey, enjoy a little bit of our food and our drinks and drop off some donations in there. And we're hoping to make a positive impact for our Sunbelt Conference foes, our rivals for a long time, but our friends at App State.
Yeah, that's right. It's a worthy cause, and they rally like nobody else. They've got some other fundraisers going on, some other outlets, and man, they come together like nobody's business, man. It's a really great thing to see. And if we can just be a small part of that, then we want to be a small part of that and let them know we care about them up in Huntington. Anything else?
No. So
right.
whether you see us at the Cam, whether you see us at the Vet, or whether you see us over at our tailgate, no matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, go Herd.
Go Herd. It's the ThunderCast. Tune in tomorrow. We'll have the Old Mountain Feud preview episode. It's App State and the Herd.